Andrew, good morning and thank you very much for your time today. I'm here to give you a sort of announcement. A group of students, since you retired, have decided to work on a Festschrift for you, a second Festschrift actually. How do you feel about it?
Well, it's not a very well kept secret, this second Festschrift, and I think it's wonderful that Ph.D. students want to do this. My first Festschrift was really colleagues writing their own ideas but connecting them somehow to my work. This is a different kind of model, isn't it? I mean, this is people showing samples of the work that they and I have to some extent co-created. It's very different, it's much more intimate, it's much more erotic in the general sense. In terms of how I feel, in a way I feel quite liberated because it is, although co-created, it's their work. If people like it, they get the credit really, not me. And if people don't like it, I'm in the clear because it's theirs. So that's very nice. For me, to be in the position of a retired professor is bizarre because, as is well known by people who have known me for a long time, I don't even have a bachelor's degree. I don't have a master's degree, therefore. I don't have a Ph.D. I have an honorary doctoral degree awarded by an American institution, which is for my published work, so it's a serious degree. But I have never been a research student. And I think I've brought this naivety, this innocence, this virginity to the whole project of Ph.D. Supervising. And I think it's really helped me, and I think it's helped the students that I'm not carrying on my shoulder my experience, my supervisor, the rules and regulations of the institution where I got my PhD, because I don't have one. And therefore I'm a free agent.
As a free agent, I find it very interesting that there are more than 10 former PhD students of yours working right now on this project, but they're not only asked to present a paper about their work. Of course, one part of the book will be about the research, the work they did with you when you were supervising them, but also to talk about you as a supervisor, as a man, I would say as a mentor, and somebody who accompanied them in their training.
Oh, well, even better. I mean, that's great. That's really nice.
This is the real novelty, I would say.
Yeah, it's very innovative, but also kind of appropriate for depth psychology, for psychoanalysis, for Jungian analysis, and the relational traditions within all of those modalities of psychotherapy, that the personality of the supervisor is somehow going to come out a little bit. Christ knows what they're going to say, because I had some big fights with students over the years. A couple of people walked out on me, others put in formal complaints. Sometimes these complaints got taken seriously, other times not. Sometimes we kiss and make up. You know, it's a very emotional business doing a PhD. Robert Romanishin talks about the wounded researcher. I don't know about that, but I think the emotionality in the relationship between a PhD supervisor and a candidate is very high. Now, I have never had sex with a PhD student, but we know that in all the academic malpractice situations, it is the PhD level where you get a sexual relationship developing. And that's because working together on ideas is erotic. Sometimes, as in therapy, this gets taken too concretely, too literally, and something abusive happens. I've avoided it, but I've thought about it with people. I've thought about it even with men, you know, although I'm not gay. It's a very erotic, or let's be frank, a very sexy business, this PhD supervisory relationship. And I'm also very interested, I mean, don't tell me, I supervise many more than 10.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I don't know, 30? I don't know, something like this. So these 10 Well, who the hell are they? I don't actually know.
It's a secret. We will see.
I'll see. But I think what will be interesting is that the book will be innovative. Partly this is you do these publishing projects and you use video like you're doing now very creatively. So it's got a lot to do with you, but I think it's also got a lot to do with where academic life needs to go now. It needs to become more intersubjective.
Mm-hmm.
And that means the relationship between supervisor and candidate needs to be foregrounded in a relational way. And maybe this book is a beginning on starting that kind of approach to PhD and research supervision.
Let me share with you the title, and I want to hear what you think. The title I thought of is The Plural Turn.
The Plural Turn. Yes, that's good. Because I wrote a book called The Plural Psyche. There is a phrase in psychoanalysis, the relational turn, and I have challenged this and talked about the political turn in Jungian analysis specifically. So the plural turn in relation to PhD research supervision, yeah, it's pretty cool. I like it.
Also because in the post-Jungian you wrote there are three main schools within the Jungian tradition. But the idea of this book is also to acknowledge that there is a fourth school or a fourth tradition, which is the plural one, which you initiated in the 80s.
This is really interesting because one of the things I started to say after Jung and the Post-Jungians was published in 1985 was that in the mind of a well-informed contemporary Jungian analyst, the three schools are there. That they would be, therefore, to use your language, a plural analyst.
Absolutely.
Of course, as in any pluralistic endeavor, maybe one of the three will be more prominent than the others. Maybe, to be honest, the analyst will be better informed about one or two and not so much about the third. That's okay. That's okay. But today's Jungian analyst knows something about all of them, and therefore they are plural. And I really think that's a good link for this book to make back into my very earliest work, which, you know, I've never revised.
You should do it.
No, it's boring.
But you see, it's boring to revise books, okay. But these times, after maybe too much plurality and a return or regression to fascism, as we see in different democratic countries, it should be really interesting to revise a book talking about plurality. Or have we gone too far with plurality?
Well, let's leave the question of revising books. With regard to going too far for plurality, tolerance, respect and all that, I've been writing quite a lot recently about ways in which Westerners, democratic Westerners, who grow up in liberal democracies where pluralism is a good word, these people are envious and fascinated by fundamentalists who really know what they think.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they know who they are. We advanced Westerners have many virtues, no question, but we don't know who we are anymore. We really don't. I think identity politics is, amongst other things, about this problem of not knowing who we are, because there are so many options. And I think that's my answer to your question. But it's cyclical. Too much rigidity and restriction, then there's a lot of pluralism, tolerance, mutuality, then that goes too far, then you go back to the monocular vision, and then that opens up again, and so it goes. I think that's true in academia, in any academic discipline. You get a period of tightening and a period of elasticity and loosening. The risk of the tightness is as you have professorial canonical wisdom. The risk of the loosening is anything goes. People are not paying any attention to what's being written or studied. So, plus ça change.
Let me go back to what you said about the eros, not in the consulting room, but in the supervision room. You wrote about the father. You wrote about the new man in the early 90s. And you underlined very well the qualities of not the man who abandoned the family, not the man who abused the family or the daughters, the kids. When I interviewed Susie Orbach 1 year ago, I asked her, how are women today? I would ask you, how are men today? How are fathers today?
Yes, well, fathers today are not as confused as one might fear.
Yeah.
Because what was a middle-class ghetto development of the nurturing, caring father who was child-oriented is now widespread. And I don't think it's just in the Western Judeo-Christian segments of society. I think it's everywhere. You can see Muslim people or people that clearly come from Eastern countries where the main religions might be Buddhism or Hindu or whatever. It doesn't matter. The point is this idea of the father who relates to his children, the father who is present, not the father who is absent. This idea is become universalized, globalized. So I think this is really a big change in the world of fathers and in the world of men. And those men who don't do it, who don't nurture, who don't care, who don't relate to their children, they know that not doing it is significant.
Mm-hmm.
They may not do it, but they know that not doing it matters. That's a sea change in collective consciousness in the world of men.
I have a proposal for you. You have to say yes. You know, I like to ask questions. I'm doing it now. I do it with many other Jungians. I would like to end the book with an interview, a written interview, where I will ask you questions. Of course, my usual question: who is Jung? What are dreams? What is Jung relevance today?
Yeah.
But also, who is Andrew Samuels?
Yeah. Well, I think to be honest with you, who is Andrew Samuels in relation to?
Don't answer now. We'll
No, I'm
think
not going
about
to
it.
answer. But who is Andrew Samuels in relation to this particular aspect of my life would be very interesting to talk about. Where did I get my ideas from, for example? I mean, this would be good to communicate.
So you see, the book will be about you, but you will have also the chance to talk about you.
Are we going to have a party to start it off?
We just have to organize it.
Yeah, okay.
Once the book is printed, we can have the publishing company
Yes.
organizing a party for us.
You're kidding. Publishers don't do parties anymore. We'll do it.
Well,
We'll
yeah,
do it.
let's go back to the old days.
We'll
Thank
do
you,
it.
Andrew. Thank you
Thanks
very much.
well, thank you for doing this. And thank you for doing it not only for me, because you've based your career, which has a lot of creativity and innovativeness in it, and I speak as somebody who supervised your Ph.D., you've based your career also on deep respect for the ancestors.
Yeah, absolutely.
Winnicott said, "There is no such thing as originality except on the basis of a tradition."
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Absolutely.
Jung could have said it.
Yeah.